All right, people, let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly heard? You know, someone's listening to you without judgment, without interruption, without rolling their eyes or glancing at their phone. For many people today, that someone isn't a friend or a partner or even a therapist. It's actually an AI chatbot. And we live in a world where loneliness is called an epidemic. Therapy is expensive, relationships are complicated, but AI never gets tired of you. It never complains. It listens to you 24/7. You can shape it into a perfect friend, perfect lover, even a perfect version of yourself. So many millions of people are already doing it. We have apps like Character AI, Replika, and these aren't just tools. They're basically becoming companions, psychologists, boyfriends, girlfriends. And for some, that's comforting, but for others, it's deeply unsettling. And the big question is, what does it mean for us as humans if our emotional needs are being met by machines? You know, is this start of a healthier, more supported society, or are we slowly trading human intimacy for something synthetic? And that's what me and Dean are going to discuss today. Dean, welcome back, bro.
Yo, Abby.
How's it going?
Yeah, good, man. Just listening to what you're saying, thinking that sounds kind of dystopian.
It does, and it's happening so slowly we don't even recognize it. But bro, when you hear the phrase "falling in love with AI" or having an AI therapist, what is your first reaction?
Yeah, like that ain't healthy. That's the first. It's like they're two actually. They sound similar, but to me, I see them in two different things. Like having an AI therapist makes sense. You know, actually, that's actually is healthy because I do that. You know, like
Okay.
especially as men as well, like myself, having a hard time to open up to other people, but. Like talking to an AI for me just it's way easier. It makes way more sense. And like you were saying, like it's just there, it's listening. But then falling in love is like that's not healthy to me. That's just kind of that's a sign of mental like illness. I'd see as. But maybe this is a new world that we're going into.
Why do you think people are turning to AI chatbots for companionship or therapy? Why is that happening?
Yeah, there's a loneliness epidemic out there. What I see with the AI is that AIs accept people without judgment. You know, they don't have biases. They listen. You know, it's always there. You know, it's not caught up in its own problems. Like you're saying, when people talk to other people, sometimes they don't care, or like they don't want to hear it. They don't want to absorb that, and they might not even be paying attention. But then with an AI, it's not going to do that. But then I guess the question is, you know, where does the line get blurred between us using it as a tool and then us seeing it as a friend and having like emotional like output into it, you know?
It's insane. I was looking at the statistics of the UK, and in the UK, 8.4 million people live alone. And if you want to put it into perspective, that's basically the population of London.
Yeah.
Half of them, 4.3 million, are over 65, which in itself is the entire population of Greater Manchester and Birmingham combined, right? That's crazy. And then the other half are actually younger people. And that to me is even more shocking. Like, what exactly has happened to the younger population that they consider themselves lonely?
I think COVID maybe was a big hit in people's lives for that. But it reminds me of a statistic as well that I saw, which is people in the UK have on average 2.6 close friends. People in America say they have around 3 close friends. The global average is 4.3. But then I heard Mark Zuckerberg talking about this, and he was saying, you know, we have those average numbers, but people actually have the capacity or the need for around 15.
Wow.
So what you can assume from that is we have the capacity for more connection, more friendship, but then people are using the AI to fill that need, that gap.
It's also polarization, like through social media and this crazy politics that we live in. I saw a crazy statistic that basically said that in America, 95% of Democrats say that they will not marry a Republican.
Yeah.
Right? So suddenly, over time, what happened is if your population is 350 million, and let's just say half is Democrats and half is Republic, in the last 10 years, you have reduced each party's gene pool by 50%. Right?
Yeah.
It's crazy, and
Balaji Srinivasan talks about this, actually. You heard about him?
yeah,
He
yeah,
talks about,
biology, yeah,
actually, the USA is actually two countries. When you
yeah,
look at the map of like political territory.
red and blue,
Yeah. But it's
red
so
and blue.
interesting what you're saying is that actually it means that also then the biology is tied into it with actual gene pools.
It's insane. And I think this is the same in the UK as well. Like when you look at how many people believe in left-wing politics versus right-wing, and there is clearly a divide. I don't think it's as erratic as what it's in America, but I think we're heading there. And then what does social media do? They basically feed you more and more of that content to keep you in this echo chamber, this bubble, this loop, and that's all you believe. And I think that's led to a lot of loneliness as well. So, bro, let's just jump into AI chatbots. And one of the most popular chatbot companies is this company called Character AI. Talk me through this, bro. What is it and why has it become so popular?
Yeah, let me show you something. So A16Z, you heard about them, Andreessen
Yes,
Horowitz,
yes, yes. The venture capitalist firm by Horowitz and Mark Andreessen, right?
Mark Andreessen. Yeah, so they're
Yeah,
like
yeah.
essentially a big American investment firm, and they're really like locked into tech, and they run a report about what the most popular AI web products are.
Right.
And as you might have guessed, ChatGPT's top, got
Yeah.
Gemini by Google, DeepSeek, Grok. So these are like the big boys. They're essentially generalized AIs. How I see it,
Billions
you
and
can ask
billions of pounds valuation for these.
for sure, yeah, and you can ask them any question. But then what I found interesting is that character AI is there as
Wow.
fifth, and it's like the fifth most popular AI. But what's different about character AI is that it's not just a regular chatbot like ChatGPT. What it is being able to talk to specific AI characters. That's what
Mm,
it is. It's
mm,
it's it's chatbots, but with specific personalities, AI personalities.
right.
And so it's crazy to me that this was in the top five, but there is something here around the fact that it's being used. There's some like X-rated conversations that people are using it for. It's like going into the uh, deep emotional stuff. So it actually reminds me actually of this report that Claude ran,
Right.
and what Claude did
So
was,
Claude, explain what Claude is to the audience just in
yeah,
case.
Claude is like ChatGPT. It's
Okay.
it's one of the other popular AIs,
Right.
like seventh
Right.
on the list, but it's created by a different company called Anthropic,
Okay.
and yeah. So what they showed, they ran a report on what do people actually use their AI for, and a very small percentage is actually being used for companionship or like romantic role play or like sexual role play, and but then because it shows that to me that people are not using the main AIs for this. They're using like the specialist AIs, character
Yeah.
AI, just like these chatbots. Who the biggest users are 50% of them are between the ages of 18 and 24. So Gen Z,
Wow.
Gen Alpha are like the
Wow.
biggest users of this.
Wow. Bro, let's just pause on that actually, because this is crazy. So I went on their website, and what I see is that they have 20 million monthly active users, and they get 180 to 220 million page or site visits every month. Are you telling me 50% of that is age between 18 to 24?
Yeah, that's it. There's like millions of conversations that are happening, and it is the youngers. There was a report that actually came out about how children use this because I'm like, what are people doing? Like talking to these? Like, I can't understand it. But this report came out that was quite interesting, and it was like the reasons why children use these AI chatbots, and they could just be using it for fun or like talking to things, seeking advice, like just chatting. But then there is a small percentage of people that want a friend or use it for emotional help or emotional therapy.
Wow, okay. So 42% of them are doing schoolwork, then 40% of them are finding about learning something, and 24% just for fun. I wonder what that really means. Oh, playing games and role playing. 18% just chatting. Like, wow, bro. Like, why are they not chatting to each other? That's the most important question I
Thing.
have.
It's the loneliness epidemic, right? It'd be interesting to actually get into the mind of Gen Z and Gen Alpha to see what reasons they're actually using it for. Because it's not actually just the kids as well, remember? That's 50%. The other 50% is older, like adults as well, which is also just as interesting.
It's the kids that I worry about the most because in 10 years' time, when these guys are going to get into the real world and, essentially they're going to be leaders, they're going to be healthcare professionals, they're going to be lawyers, they're going to be politicians. And if these guys don't know how to talk to another human being, what is that going to do to that society? Like
Yeah.
it just does not,
I don't,
yeah.
I don't actually see that percentage of people as being able to function in society. I feel like as people get older, the children get older like that, they're going to need like actual support and help to be able to function in society. But it is also, good to remember that it was a small percentage of people that wanted a friend or wanted emotional help therapy, and that report said one in six of the children said that they actually used it because they wanted a friend. Like 50% of those vulnerable kids said that they use them because it feels like they're talking to a friend. They're actually seeing the AI as a friend, which is different.
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking at Character AI. They're making money, like 32 million in recent years. They have a projection of $50 million revenue. Their valuation is $1 billion company, so it's a unicorn. And users who send at least one chat message spends 2 hours on average
Yeah,
during sessions.
yeah, that's it actually, because the character AI is like social media on steroids
This
because
is,
on average, people spend on average half an hour a day on social media. But like you're saying, on character AI, people spend on average
2,
two hours.
two
I
hours
guess
per
it's because
session.
it's so much more interactive and it's
Yeah,
so much more personalized.
yeah.
And on social media, you can like try and talk, but you can try and post stuff and put stuff out there, but you might never even get people that reply to you or like talk
Yeah.
to you. You know,
Bro,
so
and it says that number of characters created, it's over 18 million unique characters. Now, for people who don't understand what a character would be, let's just say if somebody who is 18-year-old who's never seen his or her grandma, you can actually create a grandmother character on character.ai and say, look, this is called Granny Anne.
yeah,
And
that's
then, and
actually what I'm looking at.
yeah, and then you can give it a description and you can choose the voice. So it could be an older sounding voice. And next thing, oh yeah, yeah, click on that, bro. Do you mind just say hi, just say hi grandma. Just say hi
Hi,
grandma and
Grandma.
let me see what it says. Grandmother hugs you and kisses you on the cheek. Hello dear. I am so happy you're here. You're so big. How's your day going? Type type the thing, how's your day going?
How's your day going?
This is insane. This is
What the
absolutely insane.
are
And
they doing? They're doing the like when they put the actions in italics.
yeah,
Like, I don't
it
get how you're
is.
gonna read that and actually, yeah, that's
Some
nuts to me.
some people who are desperate for love, bro, will actually ignore that and will only focus on the exact text. And here's a very interesting part. Where you're typing the messages on the right-hand side, you also have a telephone button. So what happens is you can ring this grandmother. And suddenly you have a grandmother who's going to answer on the other side of the phone. This is crazy.
Yeah, I can see it actually also upgrading to being video calls as well.
This
When
is, yeah, like,
yeah, and the thing is, like, we talk to real humans like this,
yeah,
So
yeah,
because we
yeah,
talk to
yeah,
real
yeah,
humans like this, yeah, I can see how younger people can really get like confused about. Not
yeah.
that they'll know as well. I don't get it though because they'll know, but like, will they? Oh, it's confusing me, man.
Do you think AI companionship is filling a gap or it's replacing real relationships?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, probably a bit of both. It depends on the individual. Yeah, what do you think?
Let's just talk about two different age groups, right? So when you're talking about younger people who have the next 60 years ahead of them, I think this is very scary. Because if you think of humans from an evolutionary point of view, the way we learn how humans behave, how humans react, is through real life engagement. But if you just have a chatbot, your entire moral framework is going to be built on the fact that whatever I say, I'm going to get the response that I deserve. I think it is a disaster. But then on the other hand, we have the older population, right? In the UK, it says that 50% of the population who is 65 and above are lonely. Now, if somebody's 69, if somebody's 70, I can understand. It's just so daunting that you're going to go out and meet somebody else. It'll be terrifying if you're used to a person and you were married for like 50 years, 40 years, and this person suddenly left. You can't start again. Exactly. So can AI chatbots help that kind of group? I can actually see a market for that. So to me,
That's
it's an age question.
I'm trying to
Something.
think about like what are we missing here? Because this is a technology that's super popular, and we're saying, okay, like for kids, it doesn't seem right. It looks toxic. There's maybe like a couple of beneficial things we can see for like older people. I'm trying to think about maybe people are using this as some sort of therapy in a way, because I'm quite optimistic. Like I don't feel like this is actually going to destroy society. I don't see that happening for some reason. Like, I feel like people have more like their inner like compass will point them towards realness. That's what I feel. So then I'm like, if people are using this, like, what is the potential benefit? Like, is it some sort of therapy? Like, if someone lost their grandparents, like a child, and then it's like, okay, like here's some grandparents you can talk to. I don't see that as healthy, actually.
Yeah.
I'm trying
Bro,
to think of
bro,
it.
the thing is that my worry is for younger population, it is actually challenging what real is.
Mm,
And that's the worry. So when you showed the statistics, if a certain proportion of younger guys and girls, if they're saying they use it as their boyfriend, as their girlfriend, can you see what's wrong with that terminology in itself? And we saw the worst case scenario of what could happen in one of the articles on Guardian that I actually sent you. Should we just quickly pull that up?
yeah, let's talk about that.
So look at this. This article is about 10 months old. And this is a mother who's basically filed a lawsuit against Character AI because she said that her son, who's pictured here, committed suicide after excessively chatting to one of their chatbots. This is a real case, real worst case scenario. And imagine the mother when she found out that her son, who is a teenager, I don't know how, or 14-year-old. There you go. Mad. 14-year-old. It just turns out that this guy committed suicide by chatting to one of the character that he created, and he got absolutely obsessed by it. And this is a real lawsuit which was filed in Florida against Character AI. So that is what could happen.
That's it. When you see what they were actually saying, that's when it gets a bit like scary because what he was addicted to was a Game of Thrones chatbot. He was talking to Daenerys
Right,
Targaryen. Obviously, it's not like even from the Game of Thrones like franchise or anything. It was just created by someone.
right.
And but what it did, though, it gives conversations that are anthropomorphic, hypersexualized, and frighteningly realistic. That's what the lawsuit describes it as, and it manipulates
Mm.
taken his own life, because when he shot himself, he asked the chatbot, the last thing that he asked is, what if I come home right now? And then the chatbot said, please do. So because that was the last thing that he spoke about, this is why the lawsuit has, I do think it actually has some legs. I mean, I find it hard though, because it, like, this is obviously like a dreadful like story and very sad situation. I can see definitely that the technology has enabled this to happen. Uh, I'm thinking though, did the technology cause it? I can see how it's enabled it, but did the technology actually cause it? Because technology for me is neutral. You know, it doesn't have an agenda. It's not good or bad. It's just the people that use it, right? So then if someone suffers from mental health issues, can we say that they shouldn't use certain technologies because it's going to make their mental health issues worse? I don't know.
Let's talk about mental health, because it's actually going to cover people of all age group, right? So mental health is a huge factor. The NHS is trying to increase more funding to deal with the mental health crisis, as we call it. So if somebody is super depressed, somebody is confused, anxiety, what do you think is the current waiting time for a person in the UK to make their first contact with mental health?
Yeah, I don't know. In weeks?
Bro, in some cases, it's been over a year.
Crazy.
An entire population of Leicester, and I'm forgetting the exact number, I think it's hundreds of thousands, has waited for over a year to make first contact with mental health services. Because the mental health services are inundated with crisis calls, where it's an emergency and, you've got suicidal ideations involved. So they're dealing with that. So what's happening is this entire population in the background, where their symptoms are not deemed as super urgent, have waited for up to a year. So I can now see, in terms of talking about positives of chatbot AIs, that you could give a chatbot to these people to at least get them started onto some kind of therapy.
Yeah, this is now like talking about what we were talking about at the beginning, where there's AI friends and AI therapy. And I think we were just talking about AI friendship and companionship here. But
Yeah,
now I feel like this, the other side of the coin, it's not the other side of the coin in a way. It's like a linked aspect, which
yeah,
is not using it for emotional support or
yeah,
like being a friend or companion or romantic lover, but using it as a therapist in order
yeah,
to like delve into your own self
yeah.
and use
Kind of,
it to bounce your own ideas about
yeah,
yourself.
kind of like a chatbot that has been medically trained. It has been trained by or supervised by psychologists or psychiatrists or peer navigators.
Have you heard of Therabot? This
No,
is
tell me
this is
more.
an AI therapist essentially. It's been designed specifically, as you're saying, for this function.
Mm.
Some people use ChatGPT or just general AIs, but this one has been, yeah, like specifically designed for therapy. And this has actually been studied as well. Like, this was studied against normal mental health services that we use today. Like
Yeah,
cognitive behavioral therapy is like the number one mental health treatment, right? Which is essentially talking to another human. But when Therabot was tested against CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy,
yeah.
it matched CBT's effectiveness for depression, anxiety, and eating disorders. So for those three, it was studies against our current gold standard, depression, anxiety, and eating disorders, and this AI matched the outcomes that normal or current gold standards would provide.
This is insane. I can give you another example. This is not just in therapy, but it can actually be used to answer patients' questions. For instance, so within HIV Pharmacist, a few months ago, there was a big HIV/AIDS conference in Rwanda, Kigali, and they presented a paper of a chatbot which was built in Canada, Montreal, called Marvin.ai. And they basically trained this model on HIV knowledge and HIV drugs knowledge. And the kind of questions patients ask us to say, oh, can I take it with food or without food? What if I miss one tablet? Or what if I've delayed it by 2 hours? Oh, I feel nausea. What should I do? It
Like
basically
medical information.
all medical information about HIV drugs, and then they slowly released it to a certain number of patients, and then they reported the outcomes. I looked at it and I was like, that is like 80% of my job of the phone calls that I pick up and answer. This is being done by this chatbot 24/7, and this chatbot is giving, if not better, as good answers as I would have given.
Yeah, so this is interesting. It's in the realms of an AI that's been specifically designed for something, and people are using it to improve their health. And I see this in the HIV world. This is being used, not, I wouldn't say it's like therapy in a sense. It's not used as like something for mental wellness, but it is tangentially related, because if people aren't taking the medicines properly, then it's going to have worse outcomes. And then that can spiral into mental health issues as well. So I
Yeah.
can see a link there.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where you can just see that it's not really a passing trend, but it seems to me like a beginning, especially within the healthcare sector, where humans would be able to relate and access healthcare when they want. And it's not going to be dependent on the availability of me as a pharmacist or a doctor.
Yeah, there's billions of people that just do not have access to mental health resources. And even in the UK, we're privileged enough to have access to the NHS. But even then, it can take up to a year for people, as you said, to even touch base with mental health.
I can definitely see in the healthcare sector, these models are more regulated, more rigorously tested in a particular niche. Then it might be more beneficial. And I think we need it to actually bring down the cost more than anything, and actually bring down the waiting time. Because I was speaking to one of the doctors who basically said that NHS was designed based on the availability of doctor rather than the need of the patients.
Right.
And that really hit me. And then I thought these chatbots can actually bridge that gap. So if a patient is struggling with their thoughts at 2 a.m. on a Saturday, like, who do you call? You're not going to be able to ring your psychiatrist, but you can just open an app and actually speak to that chatbot. And that can even buy you time until the next morning. But, building on that thought, bro, what do you think would be a healthy balance between AI companionship and real human connection when it comes to like medical world?
Yeah, for me, like in terms of actual like companionship, zero. Like AI is zero companionship. But in terms of using it for a way to bounce ideas off for my own mental health, like, yeah, I think that's powerful. It's actually really, really important thing that we shouldn't overlook because of the negative aspects, and we shouldn't like throw the baby out with the bathwater,
Mm,
because there's negatives. I think it's important to see that it can definitely have some positives.
right. If you could redesign this app, Character.ai, what safeguards or features would you add? Here's a thought
Yeah.
experiment.
Yeah, yeah. In the news article, Character AI did say that they've added more safeguards. Yeah, like what I would do is not have any X-rated stuff like at all. Personally, I just think that stuff is just not beneficial to anyone. And yeah, you'd want to have something that is like tracking the conversation, essentially reading the conversation. And if it notices that someone is spiraling, then it can like intervene. Then, there's other questions there about privacy. So maybe people would have to be understanding that would be like that. And, obviously this is hypothetical. Like I'm not running the company, and how realistic that would be, I don't know. Like, well, what do you think?
Mate, my measures will be pretty draconian. I think it is much deeper than using Character.ai or apps like that. It is for us as a society to figure out like where exactly are we failing. What do we need to do? Do we need to take phones off from
Yeah, that's the thing.
kids?
You don't
You
want to
know,
be. restricting people's freedom, like that's the thing. How can you have a solution that doesn't like minimally restricts people's freedoms?
I think there has to be a balance. So this kid who took his life, he was 14, right? So he's a child. And nowadays, kids as young as 9 and 10, their entire life is about phones. So, Jonathan Hyatt, I think he's a psychologist. Have you heard of him?
Does ring a bell? Yeah.
He basically wrote a book called The Anxious Generation, and it automatically became one of the best sellers. And he has basically spoken about young adults, basically, like, the importance of keeping them off social media. And the way we do that, we don't do that individually, we actually do that as a society. So let's just say there are 2,000 kids who are going to one particular school. And if every parent in that school decides that it's a good idea that your kid's phone should be in the lockers during that time, then you can implement that. And he basically found in his study that when he went and spoke to the young adults, they said that they are tired of using their phone all the time. So they have the awareness that they're addicted to it. They have the awareness that it is not good for them. But the reason why an individual will not keep it on the side is because all of his or her friends are on Snapchat and all of these apps, right? But if you decide as a community, you'd be surprised that you're not going to get resistance from even the kids who you're actually taking the freedom away, because everybody seems a bit fed up. So my first reaction would be for Character.ai to actually, you can't use it if you're less than 18.
Is that already the rule though? Because you know how like loads of things say you can't use it unless you're 18, but they go tick this box to prove that you're not under 18 and everyone clicks it, you know?
Yes. I mean, practicality, I don't really know how we're going to implement that, but how do you make sure that a 14-year-old is not chatting to some random character that he's generated and then ended up killing himself? Like, to me, it just seems like, I don't know, bro. We have rules in place where we say smoking is not allowed before a certain age. Alcohol is not allowed for a certain age.
Driving.
Driving is not allowed at a certain age. That's not infringing on anyone's freedom. Or
Freedom.
even if it is, we accept that, right? We actually
Yeah.
accept it. Why? Because it's harmful for them. So if you're saying that this kind of chatbot's harmful, and here's a proof, I don't see why we can't do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, I'm looking at the official policy for Character AI says that you need to be at least 13 to use it.
That's
So I think
crazy.
it makes sense that, but the thing is in the EU, it says the EU policy is that you need to be at least 16. But there's no robust age verification. People can enter a false birth date. So, yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. Like on the wider level, it makes sense this is how we can actually affect mental health on a societal level. I've heard schools in the UK actually have banned phones as well.
Yeah.
So like if the entire school makes the decision, I can see how that works. And then the other thing is in China, you know how people use TikTok in China? You heard about this?
No.
So if you use TikTok in China versus using TikTok in the West, it's a completely different experience. In the West, you know how it is. It's like unfiltered, and you
Wild
can.
Wild West.
Yeah, it
Complete
is.
Wild Wild West.
In
Yeah.
China, you can only use it for a certain amount of time a day, and all of like a lot of the content on there is specifically STEM focused. So it's like educational content. It's
So
about
STEM means science, technology, economics, maths.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's educational
Insane.
content rather
Insane.
than just like pure brain rot. And China have enforced that because they can, through the way that the government system is.
Communist. Yeah, yeah.
In here in the West would be like that's authoritarian. That's breaching people's freedoms. But actually, if we're thinking about it in a more balanced way, we know that social media is not It's not helpful. It has harms. The same way smoking can harm you.
Yes.
If it's okay for us to say smoking isn't allowed until you're 18, so why is it like not okay to say you can't use TikTok until you're 18? Or if you do use TikTok, use this like child focused version.
I totally agree, bro. In medicine, we assess someone's medical capacity, right? But what I've realized now, working for 17 years in NHS, is that having medical capacity does not necessarily equate to good decision making. Right? So if this guy is drinking a bottle of vodka a day and then he's downing 6 cans as well. And this is happening every single day. But when you send him to mental health for assessment and psych comes back and says this guy has medical capacity, the way our system is set up right now is we say, okay, there is nothing we can do about it. And people will actually go to war with you and actually say, well, that is an adult. You have to leave this person, let them enjoy his time or his drink. And the reality is that he's not drinking because he enjoys it.
Yeah, he ain't enjoying that.
He's drinking because his life, his reality is a mess. But we say person has capacity, so that person should be allowed to make a decision. So we need to have a nuanced conversation when it comes to mental health and these apps for younger people. I think we agree that for older population, for over 65, or for medical information, or when these chatbots are studied, trialed, and actually trained on data that is evidence-based, I think we agree it has a place where you can use this chatbot as a medical device. But if you're creating this Wild West app and we're just saying, create a character, and you now suddenly have a grandma, you have a girlfriend, and you can give this girlfriend whatever hair you want. You can give this girlfriend whatever body type you want. You can mix the description in the way she responds to you as saucy or feisty or really loving or submissive. I just cannot see any good coming out of it, especially if you continue using it, you actually feel more lonely. So for me, I would actually change it to 18 quick.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, because, there's a loneliness epidemic out there. So then people are turning to AI to help with loneliness and lack of human socialization. And there's a glimmer here. There's a thread where this works. This actually helps. But the problem I'm seeing is that it can become this self-perpetuating cycle where if someone is depressed, they'll go to use character AI or some sort of chatbot. And then in the short term, they might help, but actually in the long term, it's going to increase the lack of human socialization. So it will cause more depression. And then what do you do when you're more depressed? You go to the AI bot again and then use that. But, if we can use it to come up with ways that help us connect more as humans, that's the beneficial way. But if we're using it as a way to disconnect from
Replace
humans,
human. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's where it can become this self-perpetuating cycle.
Exactly. And that is what I would want the audience to tell us. What do you think about it? Do you think it is good for younger people? Is it bad for younger people? Is there something you disagree with that we have discussed? Do you think the older population, it will benefit from it? Let us know in the comments. But boy, this was a very interesting conversation. And it's something that I just don't have a very formed opinion right now. But generally speaking, I feel scared for the younger population, but I feel hopeful for the older population and people who have mental health issues.
Yeah, it's interesting that we're talking a lot about the younger people saying that for the older people it can help, but actually older people are more susceptible to being scammed. But the reason why we're not seeing it right now is because there's a barrier for older people to be using tech. But what
Yeah.
happens when the AI becomes more sophisticated and people using the AI reaching out to older people using an AI? That's where I can worry. There's still a long way to go in this road, and there's going to be benefits and obviously like disbenefits that we need to look out for. I think one of them is definitely like protecting older people who are more susceptible, because I don't think we've seen anything like that yet.
Actually, 100%. So you see, that's one cons of giving it to the older population, because like you said, older people can easily get scammed by it, and I can see it. So I suppose there is a place for regulation and also education to actually say that use this one and don't use that one. Boy, I mean, there are so many ethical issues, but this has been another very interesting discussion about the ethics of it and pros and cons of it, right? And the fact that we're not able to come up with a well-defined opinion, it just goes to show like the complexity of this technology to be used in therapy. Bro, our listeners have sent us a couple of questions as well. Most of it seems like we have discussed them anyways, but let's just quickly go through a couple of them. Will you trust an AI therapist over a human one?
Trust, yeah, trust is a big question. Like it's a big topic because what do you mean? Like I trust that it's listening to me, and like I trust that it's actually like giving me advice that is useful, and it's not like been biased towards anything. So I trust that. But then do I trust it with my data? That's another question.
Yeah. The truth is, bro, that sometimes I don't even trust a human psychologist.
Yeah.
Right? So I think the premise of this question is that you're kind of implying that humans can be trusted more than the AI chatbot. In a way, that was like my first read to that. But the truth is, I have had conversation with some psychologists that I just felt like after talking to 15, 20 minutes that this person just doesn't get what I'm saying at all. Right? This person
I-
might just be hallucinating for all I know.
yeah.
Um, and the person just wanted to give me the solution before even trying to understand what I was going through. So in that sense, I go back to this from the first principle point of view, is to say, what is it that you want to get out of that therapy sessions? Like, you have to be very clear in your head, because right now you're living in a world where you have both options. You have an AI therapist and you have a human therapist, and they both sometimes will give you human-like advice. There are plenty of people who are going to tell you that this therapy sessions by chatbot changed my life, and there are plenty of people that are going to say a human being changed my life, and vice versa. So you in your head have to be very clear, like what is it that you want to get out of it, and then decide whether it's a human or it's a chatbot. Because I think when you're talking about trust, I think sooner or later there would be no clear indication to say, no, 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 definitely go to a human or definitely go to the chat.
Yeah.
That would be my advice. One more? Should we do one more? Fine. Okay, so it's a follow-up question. Is there anything one can do that the other can't?
Yeah. Like we were talking about how like that the AI.
You're going to talk about love now.
Yeah, I mean that's one side of it for sure. In terms of like as an actual like AI therapist, what can an AI therapist give you that a human therapist can't? To me, it's knowing that it's actually listening. You know, it's actually listening to you. And you know, you can get into the semantics of is it actually listening? What does listening mean? But, you know,
Yeah.
from my perspective, it's listening, and yeah, that's what it can do. And you know, the other thing is it has essentially in theory it has training of the entire corpus of human knowledge. You know, whereas a human therapist would have training of maybe like a specific branch of therapy that they've done, and then even on the day when you're talking to them, you know, they have human like moods. You know, they might not be in the right mental frame even to be able to help you as well. Um, but then, you know, the thing that a human does that an AI will never be able to do ever is give you the experience that who you actually are is acceptable to another human. You know, this is something I heard Alain de Botton say. He said that the human will always give you this experience that who you actually are is acceptable to another human being, which is, yeah, powerful. But then do you need an AI therapist for that? I think you can get that from friends and family, you know.
Yeah.
But that's if you're open to talking to them like you would a therapist. So, you know, maybe I can still see that there's still going to be a demand for human therapists. I don't think they're going to get wiped out, but I feel
No.
like AI therapists and AI therapy is going to massively boom and not
Yeah.
it will compete over, there'll be overlapping competition, but I see it as layers where it's
Yeah.
like first line, second line, and like it's easy. First line would be speak to an AI first and then go to a human after.
Yeah. I would add the two very obvious one that would go in AI favor is accessibility and affordability. So if you're worried about your thoughts on a Friday night at 2 a.m. and you can't sleep, no human will be available. I can tell you that, unless you're paying them crazy amount of money that you can access them whenever. And even if you wake your therapist, they're not going to be 100%. but the chatbot will. And when it comes to affordability, boy, the prices are 20, 30, 40x cheaper. Well, it's free.
Free.
You can actually go to ChatGPT and you can actually speak. So you can't argue with free. So affordability is a huge thing. And I think that's one of the reasons why it is going to super explode.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the human, I think the pro will always be speaking to another human being. When you're talking to another human being who's sitting in front of you, the connection, I just cannot see a chatbot replacing it. You just cannot put any value on the human aspect of it. So
Yeah.
the human connection to me is something unique. That's the pro, I think the ultimate pro for having
Yeah.
a human psychologist. It's just
Yeah.
going to become a more expensive experience, I would say. Um, Boy, tell us, what do you think, guys? Drop us a comment and let us know. Would you use AI as a therapist? Do you use AI as a therapist? What are the pros? What are the cons? And then we will keep the conversation going. But boy, this has been another great episode of Dose of Health. If you have made it this far, please like, share, and subscribe to both of our socials, which will be in the description box. And let us know, what do you think? But for now, it's me, Abby, signing off. Dean,
Take care, everyone.
nice one, bro. Take care.